Good morning, fourth grade. We're going to get right into our lesson for today. We have math lesson 148. Today we are getting into geometry, introduction to geometry. Now, to get into geometry, there are some names, some terms that we want to learn that will help us through this. So, we're going to go over some of those this morning. In your book, at the top of the first page in your lesson today, there are pictures of each of the things we are learning about with the names that they are called. So we're going to start off. First of all, if I put just a small dot here, this is something that in geometry we will call a point, okay? This is just simply a point. It's just one dot, and you can place it anywhere. Now, if I draw another point, and then maybe draw a line to connect those points, this is called a line segment. Okay, so a line segment has a beginning point and an ending point. Okay, so first of all, we just had a point, just a simple point. Now we have a line segment. This is what we call a line segment. Beginning point, an ending point, and a line connecting them. That's a line segment. Okay, now the next kind of thing we're learning about is just a line. Okay, now for a line, we have arrows here. Whether we have these circles here or not doesn't really matter so much. But our line now has arrows on both ends because it goes on forever in both directions. Okay, so a line never ends. It does not have a beginning or an ending point. A line never ends. And this, when we have a line with an arrow on each end, that's called a line. So we have a point now. We had a line segment, which has a starting point and an ending point. And now this is a line. It does not have a starting and ending point. It never ends. Now, something else that we have is a ray. Okay? Now, a ray has a beginning point. See the point here? But it has no ending point. On this side, it goes on forever. Okay? So here is where it starts, but then it comes this way and goes on forever in that direction. Now the next thing you have, please look in your book at the top of your lesson. So it shows you the point, the line segment, the line, the ray. Now the next thing that we have is an angle. What is an angle? An angle is when we have two rays. So I said that this is a ray. So when we have two rays that share an endpoint, that's called an angle. And let me show you what that looks like. So here's one ray, but if I make another ray and I make it share the endpoint that the first ray had, see, these are two rays and they have the same endpoint. We call that an angle, okay? And something that we're going to learn to do in the future is to measure how big it is by how far apart these rays are, by how open they are, and we'll measure it in degrees. We're not going to get into that today. But an angle is when you have two rays and they share an endpoint, okay? So now we have a point, a line segment, a line, a ray, and an angle. Next, now follow along the facts here at the top of your page in the box. We just went over the first one. The second one is a right angle. Now, a right angle is an angle, but it's a specific kind of angle, like this. Where your angles meet, it's like a square. See, this could be the corner of a square right here, okay? So this is not, because this could not be a square, but when you have an angle like this, that's called a right angle. And we usually show that with a little box in the corner. Okay? Now the next kind that we have is congruent angles. And congruent angles are angles that have the same number of degrees. Okay, so when I talked about measuring angles and measuring them in degrees, this is kind of getting into that a little bit. See, these are the same. And what we mean by the same number of degrees is that they're open the same amount. If you would have an angle like this, and then an angle like this, those are very different because this one has a lot more degrees than this. It's much more open, but these are pretty much the same. So we call those congruent angles, okay? Now, the next thing that we have is lines that intersect each other. Okay, lines that intersect each other are called intersecting lines. Like, you know, an intersection on a road when you come to a traffic light and two roads cross each other, it's called an intersection. These are intersecting lines because they cross over each other. Now, perpendicular lines are lines that also cross over each other, but intersecting lines can cross over each other in any way. They can cross like this, they can cross like this, they can be really close together, okay? But perpendicular lines, the difference there is that perpendicular lines, when they intersect, let's say we have this line here, and we have this line here, so when they intersect, they would make two right angles. See this angle here and this angle here? This is a right angle and this is a right angle because you can form a square in the corner, okay? So they can't just be like a line like this and a line like this. They have to be like straight up and then straight over. Does that make sense? So look in your book, that is a perpendicular angle, and we usually show that by having two little boxes there in the corners, okay? And last of all, we have parallel lines. Now parallel lines are lines that never intersect. They do not have an intersection. Okay, they just run beside each other, and we call that parallel, okay? Those are parallel lines. They just run together beside each other, but they don't intersect each other. So in your lesson today, you're going to have to label the different things that it gives you, and you're going to have to answer some true and false questions. And then you have review section to work. We're going to go over some concept cards yet, so stay with me here. Let's go over our temperatures together. Just as soon as I can get this to focus here. Okay, so what's the normal body temperature Celsius? 37 degrees. Freezing point of water Celsius? 0 degrees. Boiling point of water Celsius? 100 degrees. Normal body temperature Fahrenheit, 98.6 degrees. Boiling point of water Fahrenheit, 212 degrees. And freezing point of water Fahrenheit, 32 degrees. Okay, that is all that you have for your lesson today. Sorry, I'm a little blurry here. I have a different lens, so this is... Okay, here I am and you really can't see me. That's okay, we're done with our lesson. I'll try to get that fixed later on. I'm very sorry. Okay, I will see you in language class.